All right, everybody, let's jump right into today's deep dive. We're going to be taking a look at Lam Research, ticker symbol LRCX for those following along at home. We want to figure out with this deep dive if Lam Research deserves a spot in your portfolio or not. We've got a ton of great analyst reports for this one, folks, covering everything from recent financials and earnings calls to even some really interesting insider trading info. But before we jump into all that, I have a question for you. Did you know that Lam Research is actually deeply involved in making the equipment that builds those crazy powerful AI chips everyone's talking about these days?
Yeah, that's right. They're a major player when it comes to the semiconductor equipment industry, but they specialize specifically in wafer fabrication equipment. And even more specifically, their real expertise lies in what are called deposition and etch technologies.
Okay, so I know those terms probably sound a little technical for some of our listeners. So could you break those down for us a little bit? What exactly are deposition and etch technologies, and why are they so crucial to the world of semiconductors?
Okay, so think about it this way. You can think of a computer chip like a microscopic city with billions of tiny buildings, roads, connections. And deposition and etch technologies are like the construction tools that actually build those intricate structures onto a silicon wafer. Lam Research is a leader in these areas because they have some really unique patents and invest super heavily in research and development. They're constantly innovating to create the most advanced tools for creating those features on chips, those incredibly small and precise features on the chips that power everything around us, everything from our smartphones to those self-driving cars you mentioned earlier.
Oh, wow. So they're not just making any chips. It sounds like they're enabling the creation of the most cutting-edge chips out there, the chips that are really driving the future of so much technology. No wonder their Q2 2025 earnings report was so positive. I mean, they completely blew past revenue margin and earnings per share expectations.
Exactly. And you know what's even more impressive than that is their projected growth. They think they're going to outperform overall wafer fabrication equipment spending, which is estimated to hit a crazy $100 billion in 2025.
Wow, that's incredible. But it sounds like they're not just riding the current wave, they're really actively working to stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. Lam Research is investing a ton in emerging technologies like backside power distribution and dry resist processing.
Okay, so could you unpack those a little bit? What makes those so significant?
Sure. So backside power distribution allows for more efficient power delivery to the chip, which is essential for getting good performance. And then you have dry resist processing, which is a more environmentally friendly and efficient method compared to the traditional wet processing methods. So it's a really key technology for future chip production.
So it sounds like they're really thinking long term here. They're betting on technologies that will shape the industry for years to come. And it's not just talk, they're already seeing success. Their new Aether dry resist solution was just chosen for production of high bandwidth DRAM, which I know is a critical component in high-performance computing.
Definitely a big win for them. Really shows they can outcompete rivals when it comes to these key applications. But of course, like any investment, we really need to look at both sides of the coin here.
Right, and speaking of the other side of the coin, our report does highlight some potential risks, some headwinds that investors definitely need to consider. For example, the geopolitical landscape, particularly all those export controls that are targeting China.
Yeah, definitely. Those export controls have had a real impact on their 2025 projections. I mean, we're talking a reduction of about $700 million. And it kind of underscores another risk factor, too, which is customer concentration. Just a handful of major players. They really exert a lot of influence on Lam Research's revenue stream, so any shift in demand from them could really create some pretty big ripples.
You know, that's interesting that you bring up customer concentration, because I was reading that some chip makers, like well, I won't mention any names, but they've recently hinted at maybe slowing down their spending a little bit. So how could that affect Lam Research's growth going forward?
That's a great question. Yeah, while they do have a diverse customer base, even a slowdown in spending from just a couple of key customers could definitely impact their revenue, something investors should for sure be keeping an eye on.
For sure. And there's another point the report raises. Their reliance on those older Reliance systems for revenue is really diminishing, which puts a lot of pressure on their future growth prospects. They really need those newer technologies, like the dry resist processing we were talking about earlier, to really take off and drive growth.
Absolutely. That transition away from the Reliant systems, it's going to be super critical to watch. It's a good reminder that even for a company as innovative as Lam Research, maintaining that growth requires constant adaptation and a really successful pipeline of new products and technologies.
So it sounds like this analyst report is cautiously optimistic. There's definitely some clear potential there for growth. But it's really crucial for investors to carefully weigh the risks involved. What do you think investors should be paying attention to over the next few minutes to really get a clearer picture of Lam Research's future?
Well, the upcoming Investor Day on February 19th is going to be really important. They're planning to reveal a super detailed long-term financial model. So that'll give investors a much deeper understanding of their strategy for navigating all these challenges and capitalizing on all those exciting growth opportunities we talked about.
Okay, so February 19th, folks, mark it on your calendars. So to kind of sum this all up for our listeners who are trying to decide if Lam Research is the right stock for them, what would you say is the key takeaway here?
Well, I think we've uncovered some really valuable insights about the company today. We've seen their potential, we've acknowledged the risks, and we've highlighted some key factors to keep an eye on. So now it's really up to you to decide if this stock aligns with your own investment goals and your risk tolerance.
Right, we've kind of laid out the map for you. Now it's your turn to explore the terrain and make an informed decision. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell too so you don't miss out on any of our future deep dives. We're here to help you navigate the sometimes crazy world of finance and make the most informed investment decisions you can.
Definitely. Until next time, happy investing, everyone.